What's up, my friends? My name is Benny, and you are now in the Chop Shop. And I know I've taken a couple of weeks off, and we're trying to figure some things out. I don't know if you can tell already, but we're making some changes. I'm really excited about it. And first of all, I just want to shout out to my brother Eli, Foxden Videography. He is here in the house helping me take this thing to the next level. And we're just glad that you're here watching. We got so many awesome things in store for you, some things we got planned, some episodes on the pipeline that we are just excited to bring, and glad that you can join me on this journey. I start off this podcast in my closet with my phone, recording just audio, just sharing stories about my kids. And I can't believe that now we're coming up on a year since I started the podcast, and looking where it's come, where how many of you have tuned in and jumped in and joined along in the journey. And I'm excited, and I'm just really happy that you're here. And every week in and week out, I get messages and people that see me at church and just like, hey, love the podcast, keep doing it. The encouragement, it's needed. We're going to talk about a lot about like kind of comparison, like kind of figuring out where you're at in your life today. And I got to tell you, like, there's been a lot of times in my life in this last year, just kind of trying to take inventory. Like, am I behind? Am I where I'm supposed to be? I'm 35 years old. I'm still trying to figure this out. It feels like I should have it figured out, but I don't. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But before we do that, I just want to share some really cool updates with my family. We put my older son Abel in soccer. And just to give you some context, our family isn't a soccer family. Like, we didn't grow up playing soccer. My dad wasn't a soccer fan. We're a baseball family. So as long as I can remember, it was baseball, right? So I played baseball. My brothers played baseball. And we watched baseball. We go to baseball games. So we were a baseball family. Now, Abel tried baseball. He didn't like it. After the season, he said, Dad, I really don't know if I want to play again. I said, hey, no problem. What would you like to try? And the first thing that came out of his mouth was soccer. So I'm like, okay, when soccer comes up, we're going to try soccer. That's what we're going to do. And so this is the first year that we've put him in soccer. And I got to tell you, Abel is like super brave, courageous, willing to try anything. When it comes to food, when it comes to experiences, he's willing to give anything a try, just to try it out, see if he likes it, and then make his decision if he's going to do it again or not. So we signed him up, and I got to tell you, the first couple months, it's been fun. It's been really great. Now, can I tell you if Abel's going to play soccer again next year? I don't know. I think he'll make his decision when the season's over. But what I love about my son is that he's willing to try something new, not afraid of it, just give it his best shot. He's going to give it his all, and then he'll figure out if it's something he wants to keep doing. So we got to be a part of a soccer tournament this past weekend. First one, it was the Santa Rosa City Cup. A lot of families out there. Again, this is our first year, like kind of experiencing organized soccer. It was tons of fun. I got to tell you, probably one of the better like sporting events I've ever been to or been a part of. I've played baseball tournaments. I've gone to professional sporting events. But being a part of the tournament, watching my son play, giving it his best, they didn't win every game, but, he gave it his best shot. He tried his best. It was tons of fun. And so it's something that I think I really like, is seeing my kids try something for the first time and figure out if it's, and watching them figure out if it's something they like doing, something that they want to keep doing. And watching Abel just kind of try soccer is been great, because I'm like, okay, well, I don't know a whole lot about the sport. I know some things, so there's only a certain point where I can coach him. I have to just trust in the coaches that they can help him. But just watching him just trying to figure it out, being a part of practices and the games, has been really cool. Mateo is more of the baseball kid, which honestly I'm excited about too, because I'm a baseball fan. We're a baseball family. So watching him, the season's been over for 2 or 3 months, and I don't think there's been one day where I haven't seen him grab a stick, a bat, a sword, something, and then just start hitting balls in the house or outside and working on his swing, working on field. And I'm just wow, I don't have to tell him anything. He's doing this all on his own. That's been really, really cool. So I can't wait to see him continue that. So, just watching my kids try, do something that they love to do or figure out it and see if it's something they love to do has been really, really cool. When I was younger, other than baseball, like I remember a year in high school where I asked my parents, like, I want to play football. My parents said no. And at the time I was like, man, my parents don't let me do anything. And looking back at it, I'm like, okay, it was probably a good decision because I probably would have hurt myself pretty bad. But seeing my kids like try things and figure out if it's something they like doing has been like a really great experience. So, and when I think about like my life, think about where I'm at, where my kids are at, a lot of times, like, and I do this, I'm guilty of this. I like kind of look to others who are either around my age, around the same situation, right? Like they're married, have kids, around their 30s, mid 30s, and I compare, right? And I look at their life, look at my life, look at their kids, look at my kids, and just go, okay, I'm like almost like I hope I'm doing this right. Like I said, I'm 35 years old, and there's some days where I feel like, man, I feel like I should have this figured out by now, and I don't. And so just watching other people, watching myself, my life, and comparing. And I feel like we do this a lot, like especially guys. Like we honestly do this a lot, right? You walking down the street, you feel great about yourself. You see another guy walking down the street, and let's just say this guy looks fitter than you. The clothes he's wearing looks better than the clothes you're wearing. Maybe he's got a girl, you don't. Maybe it seems like he's got money, you don't. Maybe he seems confident and you don't feel confident. Like it's crazy how fragile our mind, our confidence about ourselves can be sometimes. Like where all it takes is for us to like walk by somebody, and all of a sudden we start questioning everything that we're doing, everything that we are, everything we've done. And this is where we kind of like get in this trap of comparison, right? Like I don't think there's anything wrong with taking inventory. Like, where am I? Where do I want to go? Right? Where do I want to be in my life? What kind of job do I want to have? I had my brother Eli on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about this. Like, what do you want to do? What type of job do you want to get into? Do you want to just keep doing what you're doing now, or is there something else you want to try? Is there something new? Is there a challenge that you want to take on? And I think those questions are okay. Like, am I happy with where I'm at? But then we kind of get into this trap of like, but I'm not like where that person's at, and I'm not as good as at this like they are. Or we start comparing ourselves, and all of a sudden we lose our identity. We lose like our confidence in who we are. We lose the understanding like, hey, God made me who I am and gave me the gifts I have, and we lose it. And so I want to talk a little bit about that right now, because I feel like this is something that honestly I do struggle with. I really do. I think it's something that growing up as a young minister in church, as a young preacher, as a young man who would speak and preach at churches, who would help teach, like there was a lot of that. Like you'd go around, you'd do these things at churches, you'd minister, you'd do great, right? You'd have a great weekend at a church, and then you see somebody else doing something. You see somebody else in a similar situation, another young preacher going around and preaching, and then you're like, oh, well, like, what do they have that I don't? Or why does it seem like they're getting certain opportunities and I'm not? Or why does this person at work, even though we start at the same time, it seems like more responsibilities given to them and not me? Like, and you start like questioning and comparing, and you're going, I don't know if I'm good, I don't know if I'm talented enough or gifted enough or just good enough to be able to do what it is I'm doing. And so like growing up, I kind of struggle with that. I like compare myself a lot to people who were in the same situation I was in. And as I've grown older, although I feel like I'm more secure in who I am, I'm more comfortable with who I am. Not to say like that I don't have faults and I don't have things that need to be worked on, but like I'm comfortable with my gifts and my abilities. I'm comfortable with my personality. I know there's things that I have to stretch myself to do, but like I'm comfortable with those things. So, but I still struggle with like comparing myself. Still struggle with looking at somebody and going, hey, like, what do they have that I don't? Or isn't that where I'm so like, I'm 35, I'm married, I got 3 kids. Shouldn't I be in a house by now? And I gotta tell you, that's a big one. Like, I live in an apartment, right? No shame. But sometimes I do feel a little shame because I'm like 35. I see other guys my age, they're in a house. What am I not doing? What did I not do? Where did I mess up? What mistake am I making? Or am I just not a good enough provider? Am I not a good husband? Am I not a good father? Like, and it's that trap of comparison. Now, I want to read just a couple of quick scriptures because I think this is important for us to like look at and think about. The first one that I'm going to read here, pulling up on my phone. So the first one is in James 3:16. It says, "For whenever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind." Now, here's a trap of comparison, okay? Is that it's going to drive you to then look at yourself and go, I need to be there, right? Not because it's good, but more of like out of competition, more out of like, it's me who needs to have that position, or it's me who needs to have that seat, or it's me that needs to have that job or that opportunity. Like, I need that, right? So out of comparison, you can get jealous of what somebody else has that you don't. And then out of jealousy, there's this selfish ambition to get what they have that you don't. And James is telling us there at that place of jealousy and selfish ambition, you're going to find disorder and evil of every kind. This is where the motives of the heart start to come out. It's all these things that are not good for you, not good for your life, not a good goal to have, not good mindset, not a good like map to live out your life, is to just be after things that other people have that you don't. It's not good. Another scripture I want to pull out is Galatians 6:4. It says, "Pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anybody else." Right? So pay careful attention to your own work. Put your head down, look at what you're doing. Pay attention to your own work. Look what you're doing, pay attention to your work, give it your best effort, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done. If I'm doing my thing, right? If I'm just being a good father, right? If I'm being a father, but I'm looking at all these other dads at what they're doing with their kids, what am I doing? All of a sudden, I've taken my eye off of what I'm doing. I've taken my eye off of being a father to my kids, because now I'm looking at other fathers. And I'm not talking about being inspired or encouraged or looking at how dads do certain things, but what I am talking about is like, why they, they're doing this and they're doing that, and all of a sudden I'm like not paying attention to what I'm doing. So maybe I am doing good work, but I'm not even paying attention. So how would I know? How can I be satisfied at something that I'm doing if not even paying attention to what I'm doing, right? But if I pay attention to my work, then when I'm doing a good job, there's a satisfaction that comes from that because I can see it. I can like reap the fruit from it. I can see the fruit from it. I'm paying attention to my work. So when the job is well done, there's a satisfaction there. And then it ends and says, and you won't need to compare yourself to anybody else. So if I'm satisfied with what I'm doing, if I'm satisfied with my life, then there really is no desire or reason to like want to compare myself to anybody. There's no like, you know what I mean? I feel like when we get stuck in the comparison game is when we're not satisfied with our life. And if you're not satisfied with your life, let me just tell you that satisfaction is not going to come from looking at that person over there, or that person over there, or this person over here. There's something here missing that nobody else can give you except the relationship with Jesus. Just going to say that straight out. That's the only thing that's going to satisfy your life, right? But we get stuck in this comparison game when we're not satisfied. And if you don't feel satisfied with your life, which again, I've been there, it happens. We question, we start to take inventory, we start looking at others, comparing our lives, and it's like, man, all of a sudden I don't feel so good about where I'm at. I don't feel so good that I'm 35 and I have a family and I'm married, I'm still in an apartment. But it's because I'm looking out and I'm comparing my life to somebody else's, and I'm not going to get satisfaction from that, But when I think about like, hey, yeah, I'm not in a house yet, but where I'm at, I'm blessed. We're taken care of. The provision is coming. Like my family's being fed. Like everything that we need is being taken care of. Like no problem. Okay, well, you know what? There's some satisfaction in that. Not everybody can say that. I can say that, and that's great. That's a blessing. That's something that I can be satisfied about. So if you are stuck in the comparison game, it's probably because you're not satisfied. So what is it? Do you feel like you're behind? Do you feel like, like I've felt plenty of times like, man, I'm 35, I'm married, I have kids, and I feel like I should be further along and I'm not. Or maybe your situation, hey, maybe you're in your mid-20s and you feel like you should have started a solid career already and be well on your way of being a business owner, but maybe you're not there. Like, these are things that come in our mind. These are questions that come in our mind. We start to compare ourselves to other people, and you start to ask the question, well, when is my time? When is it my time? When is it my time to like reap the hard work that I've put in? When is it my time to kind of come into my own, right? Like to be a man, to like step into all that God has for me, or step into this great job, or step into this great career or family, or whatever that may be. Like you're probably asking like, well, when is it my time? And here's the thing is like, I don't know. Maybe you don't know. But I feel like sometimes we get stuck with like, well, it's got to be my time right now. And it's like, what's the rush? Like I feel like, and my wife and I, Ruthie and I, we joke about this sometimes, like, hey, maybe we're not in a house yet because we just need a little more time to like figure out all the other stuff like budgeting and grocery shopping and making sure that our home we have stuff there that is needed, right? Like maybe we're not ready to jump into something bigger until we can master something smaller first. Maybe your job, same thing. Maybe you're not ready to be a supervisor yet. Maybe you're not ready to manage or own your own business yet because you need to learn how to run somebody else's business. Maybe you're not ready for marriage yet. Maybe you're not ready to have a family, to settle down with somebody because you need to learn how to be a good friend first, have a healthy relationship first. Like we want to rush into things because that's society, right? That's the culture that tells us like you can have it now, you can have it all now. Everything is at your fingertips. You got the phone at your hand, like you can get whatever you want now. But sometimes God like takes us down the certain road, a certain path, little by little. And we think nothing is happening. We think that God's just taking his sweet old time. We don't realize that all these things in our life, our experiences, good and bad, they work in our hearts. They work in our mind. It's like chipping away at stone, little by little. Like God is making something out of you. And so I'm here to just encourage you, because this is what this podcast is about, to have conversations, to encourage you. I just want to encourage you that, like, sure, maybe right now is not your quote unquote time. Maybe it's not your time to, succeed, whatever you may think that looks like. Maybe it's not your time to own your own business or be married or whatever it is that you have in your mind. Maybe right now is not your time, but it doesn't mean that right now is not important. In fact, I can make an argument that right now is probably more important than that time, because this is where you're building all those habits. This is where you're building all of those things that are going to help you be successful. All the disciplines, like, praying and reading God's word and having great relationships that bring life to you. The habits and how to budget and how to manage and how to provide and how to oversee, how to lead. Like, those are all things that are super important. You can't do all the other things we talked about until you learn that stuff first. So right now is the most important time. And if you are somebody like me who gets stuck in comparison, gets stuck in, well, but this person has this and that person has that, like, stop. Never going to win that game. You're never going to be satisfied from that game. It's going to feel like you're just drowning, like you're not able to get up for any air, because you're always going to be comparing yourself to somebody else who looks like they have more than you. But God doesn't want you to look at somebody else. God wants you to look at him. Like, find satisfaction in him first. Like, find satisfaction in Jesus, in that relationship. Let everything else come out of that place. Stop comparing yourself. You're special. God made you special. God gave you things that you need to be successful, and you're special. Like, God made you the way you are because he wants you to be who you are. And it takes us time to figure out who that is. It took me a long time to figure it, and I still feel like I'm still figuring out who I am. Like, I'm still getting comfortable and finding out what it is that who God created me to be. And I'm 35. So it takes time, and it's okay. And when your time comes, you'll be able to look at days like today, this time now, and be able to go, now I know why God didn't give me all the other things I wanted at that time, because who I am today is way better than who I was yesterday. And that's the goal. That's where I think we should all be. Instead of comparing ourselves, is looking at what is God doing with me today that's going to help me tomorrow. So I just want to encourage you, stop comparing yourself. Don't compare yourself. It's easy, but it's also going to suck the life out of you. Trust me. And listen, if you do struggle with comparison, reach out to me. Let's talk. Hit me up in the comments, hit me up on Instagram, send me a message, say, hey, Benny, I am struggling with comparison. I don't see it. I don't get it. I don't agree with what you're saying. Hey, reach out to me and let's talk. All right. Hey, guys, listen, like I said, we got a lot of things coming up. I know this was a shorter one today, but we got some things that we're trying to set up, and I'm just super excited about this. It's going to be really good. I feel like a lot of good stuff is going to come out of this. You guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in, for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is going to be the main place where you're going to see the podcast. I know people have been asking about like Spotify and all that. And eventually we'll get there, but YouTube is going to be the place where these podcasts are going to come from. I'm also going to upload them. You can listen on Apple and Spotify on audio as well. Those will be coming down the pipeline as well. But make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. Do you struggle with comparison? Maybe you don't, and you're like, hey, Benny, I got a tip or something I can share on what helps me with dealing with comparison and not comparing myself to others. Like, share. I want to hear from you guys. I hope you guys have a blessed week. Until next time, peace out.